The first time Linda's mother did not know her name, it happened on a Wednesday evening in February. Linda hardly stopped by after work the way she did 3 times a week. Her mother, Frances, was 78. She lived alone. 2 years ago the forgetfulness had started, and last spring, the doctor had said early-stage Alzheimer's. She took her medication. She went to her appointments. For most things she was still managing. Linda let herself in with her key. Frances was on the sofa watching television. "Hi Mom, it's me." Frances turned. She looked at Linda. Something in her eyes was caught between recognition and its absence. Right in the middle of both. She said, "Oh, hello. Who are you, dear?" Linda smiled. She had to smile. If she did not smile, something else was going to come out. "It's Linda, Mom, your daughter." Frances seemed to think for a moment. Then she said, "Oh, Linda. Did you eat?" As if nothing had happened at all. Linda said yes and walked into the kitchen and opened the refrigerator. She stood in front of it for a long time. She did not take anything out. She just stood there. A tear fell onto the shelf inside the refrigerator. The strange part was that the first feeling that came was not sadness. It was fear. Not fear that her mother did not know her. Fear that this was going to happen more and more. That was what frightened her. And then the second thought that came was this one. How frightening must this be for Mom? Linda closed the refrigerator and went back to the living room. She sat down beside her mother. Frances was watching television again. A country singer was performing. Frances had always loved country music. Linda reached over quietly and took her mother's hand. Frances looked down at their hands for a moment. Then she went back to watching television. They sat that way for a long time. If you were sitting there, what would you have done? That night Linda told her husband Phil what had happened. Phil was quiet for a moment and then said, "Was that the first time?" "Yes." He said, "That must have been hard." Linda did not answer. Hard was not quite the right word. She had not been shocked. Some part of her had known for a while that this day was coming. It had simply come today. But knowing it was coming and being ready for it turned out to be 2 entirely different things. The next morning Linda called the Memory Care Support Center. At the local hospital, a counselor answered. She explained that there was a family support group, that it met Tuesday evenings, and asked if Linda would like to come. Linda hesitated. She had not imagined herself as someone who went to those kinds of meetings. But before she hung up she said, "Yes, I'll come." Tuesday evening Linda opened the door to a conference room. There were 6 or 7 people seated around a table. Ages ranged from early 50s to early 70s. Most were women. The counselor showed her to a seat. No one spoke for a moment. The counselor said gently, "Tonight you're welcome to share, or just to listen." A woman across the table spoke first. She was in her late 50s. "My mother can't say my name anymore. But when I walk in, she smiles. She knows my face. The name is just gone." A man beside her said, "My dad calls me the young man now. First time he said it I sat in my car outside and cried for an hour." A quiet laugh went around the table. A sad laugh. Linda found herself laughing too. She said, "My mother didn't know me last night. First time. But when I held her hand she didn't pull away. She just stayed." The counselor said, "That's still there. She may have lost the name. But the feeling that this hand is safe, that part hasn't gone." Linda held onto that sentence for a long time. Walking out afterward, the woman from across the table said to her, "First time coming?" "Yes." The woman said, "I felt like coming here meant I was giving up." "But it doesn't. You're not giving up. You're just not going through it alone." Linda thought about that on the drive home. Not giving up. Just not going through it alone. That was exactly right. A month passed. Frances had good days and harder days. On good days she called Linda by name before Linda had taken her coat off. On harder days she did not know her at all. Linda tried to hold both kinds of days with the same steadiness. She was not always successful. But she tried. One Sunday morning Linda arrived early. Frances was in the kitchen opening and closing drawers, looking for something. When Linda came in Frances said, "Oh, good. I can't remember what I came in here to get." She knew Linda that day. Linda said, "Let's look together." They went through the drawers side by side. A pair of scissors, a ball of twine, an old photograph, Frances as a young woman, and one of Linda as a child, 8 or 9 years old. standing in a yard in a red dress. Frances picked it up and said, "That's Linda." "That's me, Mom." Frances looked at it for a moment. "You were such a sweet little thing." Linda said, "I still am." Frances laughed. A full, crinkled laugh. Linda looked at her mother's face and did not reach for her phone. She just kept looking. 2 months in, Frances had a sudden decline. One evening she could not find her own bedroom. She stood in the middle of the living room, turning slowly, not knowing which direction to go. Linda got there within 20 minutes of a neighbor's call. Frances was still standing in the middle of the room when Linda came in. "Mom." Frances looked at her. She did not know her that evening. "Where am I?" "You're home, Mom. This is your house." "This is my house?" "Yes." Frances reached for Linda's hand. This time Frances reached first. "I'm scared." Those 2 words went straight through Linda. She was scared. Frances was scared, not knowing where she was in her own home. Not knowing the person standing in front of her who had been her daughter for 48 years. That was what scared her. Linda held her mother's hand tightly. "I'm right here. I'm not going anywhere." Frances quieted. She held on. That night Linda thought seriously for the first time about memory care. Leaving her mother alone was becoming dangerous. But the words memory care facility would not form easily in her mouth. They felt like surrender. The next day she called the counselor. The counselor said, moving her to memory care is not giving up. It's choosing better care for her. She won't be alone for hours at a time. There will be someone trained there every hour of the day. For her that means more safety, not less love. Linda said those words to herself several times over the next few days. Not giving up. Choosing better care. 3 days later she and Phil visited 2 memory care facilities. She looked at both carefully. How the meals worked, what the rooms were like, whether staff were present overnight. The second one had a garden courtyard. Frances had always loved flowers. The day came to move her. Linda packed slowly. She folded her mother's sweaters and kept stopping. She wrapped the photo frames and kept stopping. Frances was watching from the doorway. She said, "Why are you crying?" Linda said, "I'm not crying." Frances said, "Your eyes are red." That day Frances knew her. Linda found that harder in a different way. To be known on this particular day. At the facility, they set up the room together. Linda put a pot of African violets on the windowsill. Frances had always kept them. Frances looked at the flowers and said, "Those are pretty." Linda said, "You've always loved them, Mom." Frances said, "I do love flowers." She still knew that. Linda was glad she still knew that. They sat together by the window. Outside in the courtyard a dogwood tree was beginning to bloom. It was early March. Frances said, "That tree is blooming." "It is, Mom. Must be spring." "It is. It's spring." Frances nodded and looked at the flowers quietly. Linda sat beside her holding her hand and looked at the flowers too. A name can be forgotten. A hand cannot. A season can be forgotten. A flower is still beautiful. And when someone does not know who you are anymore, if a warm hand is there, it is a little less frightening. As long as that remains, we are still together. If you are somewhere on this road, this story is for you. You are not alone on it. New stories every week on this channel. Please subscribe so you never miss the next one.